time at Glean, I've partnered with many customers to roll out Glean to their entire company and really help them evolve into AI native organizations. Glean is the world's best AI assistant, fully connected to your enterprise data. If you're familiar with the way I like to think of Jarvis from Iron Man, the Glean Assistant is basically Jarvis for work. You can ask it any work-related question, and Glean will provide a response grounded in your company's context. The Glean Assistant understands organizational context, helping every employee work faster, better, and ultimately more efficiently. And honestly, from what I've seen, just this alone delivers immense value for a lot of our customers. But with the advent of agentic AI, the need for actioning and making decisions upon enterprise context is front and center for a lot of teams. And this is where Glean agents come into play. Glean agents are intelligent processes that automate business workflows across every department, including support, HR, engineering, marketing, sales, IT, amongst others. Looking at Glean's evolution, you can see how Glean has delivered on this capability. In 2021, we launched AI-powered enterprise search. Then, in 2023, when the generative AI explosion happened, we quickly built and shipped an AI assistant that took search further, helping users not just find information, but generate answers, summaries, and insights in utilizing that information. Then, 2024 was a year of evolving from search to action. This is why last year we introduced the Work Assistant platform, bringing agentic capabilities directly to Glean. This enabled users to draft content, conduct research, analyze data, and deploy AI-powered chatbots and apps within their organization. And fast forward to most recently in 2025, we've expanded this into a full platform for AI agents. I really like this slide because it shows how Glean connects to all of your different data sources and indexes data in either a SaaS Glean-hosted deployment or in your own VPC in what we call a self-hosted or cloud-prem deployment. As Glean crawls and indexes your data, Glean builds what we refer to as our knowledge graph, which can be thought of as your company's enterprise brain. This is something that we'll talk more about later in this presentation. And really everything else in Glean is built off of this foundational knowledge graph, enterprise search, Glean Assistant, and Glean agents. And to sum it up, Glean eliminates the prerequisite of needing to get your data ready for AI in the enterprise in a safe and secure way. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into what I know you all have been waiting for, which is a demo of Glean. So I will begin to share my screen over here. Cool. So I am logged into Glean right now through SSO. And SSO is typically how our users log into Glean. It's what makes the experience contextualized to them. One of the ways it makes the experience contextualized to them. And there are a variety of different ways in which Glean can be consumed. So one is through logging in through SSO, app.glean.com that you see over here. We also have the Glean mobile app, as well as the Glean browser extension and the extended sidebar, which we'll get into in more detail. Once you are in that homepage that you see over here, really the call to action is that search bar that's front and center. And if it's really as simple as it looks, because it really is, all you have to do is ask any question that's on your mind related to work, and Glean will first search all of that data. So let's say I might want to search for onboarding related content here at Glean. I can go ahead and make that query. And what you're seeing here is a few things, actually. This is a permissions-aware search system. So it's only showing me results to applications, to documents that I have access to. And I can see that full list of data sources on the right-hand side over here. On top of this, this is contextually aware as to knowing who I am within the Glean organization. So as part of the knowledge graph that is built out when Glean crawls your data, this constitutes not just the content, not just the permissions, but also all the activity signals that determine who I am within Glean, what team I'm on, what are the things that my teammates are viewing, what are some of the most recent highly active documents that are being viewed, that are being liked. All of that goes into that knowledge graph. There's around 70 different signals that Glean employs to build those activity signals. And that is what powers not only what's retrieved, but also what's ranked in the order that you see here. So because I'm on the go-to-market team here at Glean, when I type in onboarding, that's all I really have to type in order for Glean to know that it should show me results for the AE onboarding collection, which is on the go-to-market team, the go-to-market onboarding collection, a Google Doc that has our general onboarding checklist, a Confluence page for developer onboarding because I'm on the solutions engineering team at Glean. So all of these different resources that are relevant to my onboarding experience at Glean. Now, this would be different if you were in HR, legal, IT, because the onboarding process might be different. And so the articles and stuff that you have access to on those teams would be different. Now, from the search experience, there's the ability to provide feedback, which you can click on the share feedback icon if you'd like. But really, the way to think about this is layer one in terms of the Glean product suite. Layer two is basically Glean Assistant or Glean Chat. And this is layering on an LLM to provide that conversational type of experience as you're navigating through Glean. So let's say instead of just asking the onboarding, instead of just putting in the query for onboarding, I want to know everything that I need to do by the end of my week one experience here at Glean. So I will go ahead and paste this question. And now Glean will be running that search that we saw in the previous page, but then layering an LLM with this. So taking all the relevant snippets that are relevant to this query, passing that over to an LLM, and then coming up with this conversational AI response. A few things to call out here is that this is a fully citations aware system so that we know exactly where certain parts of the response are coming from. So over here, we can see this is coming from this collection. This part of the response is also coming from that collection. This one is coming from this Google Drive link. And this one is coming from a different collection. So all of this is aware and relevant to you as you're making this query. And you can continue to sort of have those follow-up questions as well. And so we've actually, refreshed this chat UI assistant experience. One of the things that we have made to this is the sort of cleaner chat bubble design that you see over here. And this makes it more of that conversational experience that you might be used to seeing, almost like you're having a dialogue with Glean. This is one of our product updates that we release every single month. So we'll be walking through the ones for August. This is one of the ones for August, but stay tuned to hear all the ones for the coming months. You'll also notice that we have simplified the intermediate steps that were previously being shown over here and condensed that to make it more readable for your experience. In addition to this, we also have the ability to scroll through all of the different sources that are being used in your response. So we can scroll through this in a carousel-like fashion. Over here, we can see these are the resources, so I can click on next. And if I want to open any of these up in a new tab, I can go ahead and do those as well. Now, our other major product update is the updates to our Glean sidebar. The Glean sidebar is one of the ways that Glean can be pushed upstream to fit directly into your day-to-day workflow. So you don't need to switch between multiple tabs or even go to app.glean.com. You can simply open up the sidebar and ask your questions away. So you'll notice this little Glean icon over here, which you can either click directly or use the keyboard shortcut, Command J if you're on a Mac, and from there you'll notice that Glean pops up. Now, previously, you could only use the sidebar on index pages or work-related documents, like for instance, this employee handbook document. So if I wanted to, let's say, maybe summarize the key policies in this handbook, I could go ahead and make that query, and the Glean Assistant to the sidebar would provide us with the response. So this is what used to exist before. But if I found, let's say, an interesting article like this one about Glean online, I'd have to copy and paste it manually into Glean in order to analyze it. All of this is much easier now. I can just click on this Glean icon on the right and instantly get a summary from Assistant. I can even follow up with a question or ask Assistant to check whether this content is a part of our marketing material. And this allows me to seamlessly integrate between what I'm surfing on the web with my internal knowledge base and my knowledge graph that Glean has built. So I can go ahead and type this question here. Is the material on this page a part of our marketing material? Go ahead and hit enter. And what I'll notice is that Glean will provide me with the response. So based on the available evidence, the material regarding Glean's inclusion is indeed part of our official marketing material. So this is cross-referencing that knowledge graph, that knowledge base that Glean has built with what I'm surfing on the web. So with that being said, we'll now move over to the final piece of our Glean Work AI platform called Glean Agents. And for those of you that are new, agents in Glean are a way to chain together a series of tasks that you might perform as part of some repeatable workflow that can act on your behalf. So think, for example, all of the tasks a sales rep might do on a repeatable basis for every new account, such as pulling account info from Salesforce, contact info from ZoomInfo and LinkedIn, research from Yahoo Finance, maybe a support rep. They're having to go and reference knowledge bases from Confluence, from Service Cloud, from Zendesk. And so all of these different workflows can be stitched together into an end-to-end agent. Now, previously, we had released Quick Start agents as out-of-the-box agents designed to help make your life easier, making you more productive at work, leveraging Glean's unique capability to understand all of your company's knowledge without requiring you to do any heavy lifting of these agents. And the way to see that was by clicking on Create Agent and seeing all of these different out-of-the-box agents broken down by department. And we have now added a few new Quick Start agents to our collection. So one of these agents is, the context would be, you're late in the afternoon, you're getting ready to log off, and suddenly you're searching your memory for everything you committed to all day, from hopping from one meeting to another, updating tickets, editing documents, talking with colleagues. Things you said you deliver can get a little fuzzy. And so this is where Glean's intelligent reminder quick start agent comes in. Think of it as your personal assistant that scans through all of the different things that you had committed to working on today, from meeting notes, chat threads, Jira updates, and docs, and pulls together a handy summary of the tasks that might need your attention. So you don't need to rely on your memory on hoping your to-do list is complete. You can get a clear rundown of what's left to tackle. So if we go ahead and run this agent, while it's running, we can see how this agent was built. We've gone ahead and allowed it to run on a specific schedule, which can be modified based on your needs. And what it's doing is it's scanning through everything from me in the past day across Gong, Gmail, Google Calendar, anything that has mentioned me as a reference in the past day. It's also going through and looking through Outlook. It's reading through all of the call transcripts that were attached to calls that I was a part of. It's reading my personal activity, and then reasons about which action items belong to me, and then finally formatting a report with all of the user's action items. And finally, it sends me a Slack DM, so I can just see this in my Slack inbox. So we can see the result and what Glean had done on the left-hand side over here. We're able to see the high confidence, the open action items that I've been a part of in the past day, the ambiguous items, and some words of affirmation. These were all things that I told the agent to do in my response here. And yeah, so this is now very readily available for you to use as well. Now, this is just one side of the coin, right? Handing off work is one side, and then remembering who owes you what is another side of the equation. And so we have the all new delegation tracker agent as well. And this agent tracks every assignment that you've given to others, making sure that nothing slips through the cracks. So you won't be left wondering about a missing report or waiting for a customer reply long after you've sent that request. And the key distinction here is that instead of looking at everything that was assigned to me, this is now looking at everything that is from me. And once again, going through most of the applications that I use on my day to day for sending out requests or waiting for customers to get back to me on. And we can see the output over here as well for this as broken down in email, in Slack, in my Jira, and some of the ambiguous items as well. So putting these two agents together, they're really going to help keep you on track so that you can focus on work rather than sifting through systems to understand how you can be more productive. And so to view these quick start agents and many more, you can open the library and click on new agent like we had seen before over here. And you can pick out whatever quick start agent you want to get started building. And for even more information, you can find a lot of these on our website in our quick start agents library. And to round out our product updates for the month of August, we also have debug mode in agents. Debug mode was designed to give you a systematic view of exactly how your agent executes a task, going step by step so that you can analyze the outputs and refine the outcomes. So let's take a look at debug mode in action. I've built this agent to answer HR-related questions based on some policies. But before I turn it loose on the entire organization, I really need to make sure it's giving me the right answers. So I've gone ahead and I will ask it a question about seeing whether I'm eligible for parental leave. And I will see the response that Glean will provide to me in a few seconds. So I'm noticing, so Glean is saying that based on my start date, I'm not eligible for parental leave under my company's standard policy. And although this looks fine, I want to be absolutely sure that it is. So I'll click on the debug toggle over here, and what I'll see is debug mode spring into action. And what this allows me to do is hover over each step that the agent had executed and see what is the path that it took, as well as the calculations that it did. And so in this situation, what we can see is that it starts by sending a chat message, which is what I did for my query. The agent then decided on the next step by going down this pathway. We can see that's being highlighted in green over here. And this is correct because our branch, in other words, what are the different types of questions that people ask and what are the different types of pathways we want the agent to go down once the user asks that question. We can see over here that it's branching based off whether I had asked about PTO or vacation, whether I asked about parental leave, or whether I asked about maybe some sort of harassment at work. And so in this case, it went down the correct path about inquiring about parental leave. And then from there, it went ahead and did a search on me, seeing how many days I've been a part of at Glean so far. It outputted that over here. So based on my start date, it's saying that I've worked for this many number of days. And then finally, it went through one more branching pattern to determine whether or not I was eligible. And this pattern essentially looks at the number of days I've worked, sees if it's less than 100 days, and if so, it informs the user, in this case me, that I'm not eligible for parental leave yet. So I can see that it went down that correct path as well when I hover over the the section in the response in the agent debug mode. And we can see the final response over here. So that's debug mode. And now you can understand all of your agent's behavior in just that one click. And that wraps up our product overview as well as our product updates for the month of August. We'll hand it over to Batiste now to answer any questions that you guys might have.
All right, I'm back. Great demo. We do have a few questions from the audience, starting with Herman. Can I ask questions about any organizational process, even if it's not fully documented? Also, are you using any process mining approaches for your graph?
Great question. So you are able to ask any question, but the response that Glean will provide will be only given to the permissions that you have access to. So you might ask something that is lying in a Confluence doc somewhere that you don't know. If you have access to that Confluence doc, if you're a part of that Confluence group, then you'll be able to see and have access to that response. But if you're not a part of that Confluence group, for example, then you won't be able to see that response. And then to your point about the knowledge mining, so there are a few different ways in which Glean is building that sort of knowledge graph of your organization. And the primary way is through what we call connecting people, activity, and content data. And so content data is pulled, from crawling the data that's sitting in the data sources. People data is pulled from connecting to your SSO. And activity data is basically using all of the metadata that is associated with different knowledge types. So Slack thread, seeing how many upvotes, seeing how many emoji reactions there were for Google Docs, seeing how many views there were, likes or dislikes, and that sort of changes based on the data source and the document type that you're looking at.
Right. Sarah is asking a question about the agent debug mode, or your question, am I eligible for parental leave questions, and using an agent for that. Could you do that with just using Glean Assistant, or do you need an agent for that? Could you just ask that to Glean Assistant, or do you need an agent for that?
Great question. Yeah, that's a lot of times kind of knowing when to use an agent versus when to use assistant. In this case, you could definitely use assistant. I'd say the distinction to keep in mind when deciding when to use one or the other is something that is really repeatable, and you want to point to some sort of knowledge base or knowledge articles. Kind of filtering that down in an agent generally leads to better performance because it's quicker to respond, as opposed to maybe doing an assistant where you might have to scan through a lot of the documents. So that's, I think, one thing to keep in mind as you're using these agents. The other thing with agents is they can be shareable. And so if you wanted to maybe have it only be deployed within a certain organization, you could have that ability to do that as well.
Rachel is asking, if you don't have access to a Confluence page which might contain the answers that I'm looking for, will Glean suggest me requesting the proper access to get the answer?
Generally, what will happen is that if it's trying to reference something that you don't have access to, it will say that in the response, saying that, I was trying to access this, but the permissions don't exist or you don't have access to it. So that way, that it was trying to access something that you don't have access to, and then you can reach out to your data source admin or IT admin to grant you access for that. For that. So that's typically how I've seen that being played out.
All right. Can you share again for Alexis the name of the personal assistant agent, the reminder agent?
Yes. So that one is called the Intelligent Reminders
Right.
And it can be found if you click on that create agent. If you scroll to the bottom, it's called um, yeah, intelligent reminders.
And Alexis, you might have to Command Shift R to hard refresh the page if you still don't see it. Um, Another question that we got over email as we started, we still have 1 minute left. How fresh is indexed content? Like, do we support near real-time updates when it comes to content that we're indexing?
Yeah, great question. So Glean is as real time as our data sources allow us to be. What that means is that for some data sources, we're able to use and leverage webhooks. Examples of these could be GitHub, Asana, Jira, Confluence, Outlook, Gmail. So these data sources allow us to use webhooks, which make the crawling basically near real time. For the data sources that don't have webhooks, we have incremental crawls that depend on the data source, and those can range from as low as a few minutes to several minutes. So those are a few things to keep in mind as you're connecting data sources. It allows us to be as near real time as we can be.
Got it. All right. Well, everybody, we're at time. Kushal, thank you again for taking the time to do this demo today. Everybody, I hope this was helpful. We're doing another product drop, I think, next week. So we'll probably do another of these product demos in the near future. Um, Again, thank you for joining, everybody, and have a fantastic rest of your